All right. Thank you, Alex, for joining me here today. So, for those that are listening in, if you could briefly describe your guys' farming operation, where you're from, and a little bit about yourself.
We're from southern Minnesota. Uh, Me and my dad and my brother, we farm about 600 acres of row crop, and we have a trucking business, all feed and grain, a little bit of livestock, and also have a small custom feeding operation, feed about a couple hundred head of steers. Yeah, that's what we're doing
Perfect.
now.
Awesome. And you've been in Legacy Farmer now for roughly, what has it been, about 3 months, 3, 4 months?
Yeah, yep.
Awesome. So the biggest thing I want to ask you first is really before coming into Legacy Farmer, what was really not working in life, but also business? Like what was not working before joining Legacy Farmer?
There's just I had no organization as far as the record keeping or like a sense of business or how to actually run a business. Like I knew what the principles of it was to make money, but and how to make the money was to do the work. But sometimes doing the work isn't enough out in the field and in the truck and the feedlot. You can do only so much there, but you got to make most of the money is sitting at the desk instead of in the truck.
Well, and would you say like growing up, because I look at the same mindset when I was, growing up on a farm too. Do you feel like there was just no like proper training on how to truly run the farm as a business?
I mean, no, not really, and not really any formal training from anybody, and nothing handed down other than the basics is like make sure you got more money at the end of the year than what you started with at the beginning of it. Is
Yep.
the only sense of business we really were ever taught. And I mean, it not to put anyone down, but it was just that was it. There's really, as far as business training and knowing about certain things in it and the record keeping, all we had is a damn notebook.
Yep.
And so yeah, it was coming up with it. There wasn't much there to learn from because nobody taught them either. It was just this is what we know and this is how we do it, and that's it. Make it work.
Well, I even feel too like college, going to college, you went to college, you got your degree. And I felt like I learned more on being actually on the farm, doing the work than anything business, like going to college ever taught me.
Right. And
There was, yeah,
right. We never, my dad didn't go. I never did. We just kind of learned as we go.
yeah,
And, it was always kind of one thing like, why would you go to college to learn how to be a farmer? You've
right.
been doing it your whole life. So why go pay someone to tell you how to do what you already know? But when that's sometimes exactly what you need. But I mean, honestly, you'll learn. I've learned way more through this and following my dad and my grandpa for years about actual farming than I think I ever could have learned anywhere else.
Yep.
Pretty hands-on experience. The
100%.
work end of it, the business end of it, and the bookkeeping end of it, not so much. But the
Yeah.
actual farming.
So what would you say has been the biggest thing that's changed for you since coming into Legacy Farmer? We got you on our first onboarding call. We got you set up with farmer metrics, got your position all figured out, showing you how we're going to track the numbers, getting a cash flow put together for 2022 and really working on next year and focusing on your position. So what would you say has been the biggest thing that has changed since you've been in Legacy Farmer?
Seeing where I'm actually at versus where I think I am is
Yeah.
in good shape. But once you start running the numbers, it's like, well, maybe I got some room to improve here. And actually seeing what you're spending and where you're spending it, and having some type of organization. My desk downstairs looked like a bomb went off, and I've always talked about putting it into a program, but never had the means to do it. Well, now I got everything entered on the computer, and it's just so much cleaner and more organized, and just you sleep a little better knowing where you're at instead of just playing the guessing game.
One and two, how much has your confidence and certainty, not only within yourself, but in the operation for you moving, ahead when we're looking, 2, 3, 5 years down the road? Because we're starting to make decisions and changing the way we're operating right now because we know the facts and the truth within our numbers. So do you feel like there's been like this confidence and this certainty that has changed going forward from you knowing the numbers?
Yeah, I mean it's like I said, you sleep a lot better knowing where you're at. But it's just when you go to the bank and want to do something, you pretty much walk in there knowing that you got it in the bag, and you have an idea of where you're at. So no, you're way more confident and knowing everything's going to be all right and knowing that there's going to be a future there because you got proof that you can keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, you've gone through this process of and a software or a process to keep on track of your numbers. So if an opportunity does come up, one, you know your position at all times, and you're able to make those decisions with the confidence and certainty. But it also too, we went through this process of really starting to investigate where the numbers are going. And the biggest thing, like I've noticed with you too, is just your confidence as a business person. We're not making emotional based decisions anymore. We're moving forward in this mindset where, I know the facts and the truth within my numbers, and I can put a game plan together and make projections put into place. So when an opportunity does come up, we expand the trucking business, get profits coming in. We have this system here to help track that and remove all the emotions. So like you said, at the end of the day, man, I can go to bed at night and knowing and not laying awake, running all those numbers in my head. Right.
So, right, my biggest fear was always, you go to the bank for something and uh, you go to the bank and want a loan for something. First thing is, well, let me see your cash flow and your balance sheet, and I'd just be like, oh shit, I don't, I never had one, and now I can, you ask me for a cash flow and a balance sheet, I can turn on the computer and I can have you in 5 minutes,
Yeah.
and it's right, and I can change it in, just a couple minutes, and I guess my biggest fight was getting away from the. I had my land and everything financed through FSA, and they just kind of got you in a corner. My biggest accomplishment with having that stuff together is I literally just got the text here about 10 seconds ago that all my loans got approved to get taken away from FSA and get taken over by the bank at a lower interest rate. The call just came in. I just ignored it actually, but yeah. So I mean, that's what helps.
Think of how think of that process that would have had to happen before uh, for somebody to go through that. Because here's the reality: what percentage of farmers do you think know their numbers like you just said? I can go back and pull it up within 5 minutes. One, it's current, it's updated, and it's the truth of the numbers. What percentage of farmers do you think can do that?
Very few.
Very few.
It seems like the ones that got that stuff figured out got someone doing it for them.
Yep.
They're at that point, is what I think anyway. It's just, like 3 months ago, if you had asked me for them numbers, it would have took me 2 days to get back to you. And a mound of receipts on a desk in the basement was my filing system. And like I said, now we're moving forward quite a bit. And no, I don't think hardly any of them do. In fact, I mean, none of them that I know, if I went up to and asked them right now, I mean, not to tell you, but
Yeah.
they have no clue, you know.
No clue. And yet these guys are running multi-million dollar businesses, right? And have no system in place to help them understand their true financial position so they can go out and make decisions that aren't emotional, right?
Mm-hmm. And that was our biggest problem. Mine too is, to me, it was always a contest of whose is better, whose is bigger. And that's one thing I got away from, is giving caring about what other people, the opinion of how you're doing things is, because at the end of the day, they're not paying your bills.
They're not paying your bills.
Yep. And it's all about what you're doing for yourself and for your family. Every decision I make now with this, I look at, I got a 4-month-old little boy, and is this going to be here for him in 15 years when he's ready to take over for me, or start working? So
Yeah.
And I'm making emotional decisions that don't work.
Don't work.
I almost made a couple this summer before coming into this, and I'm thankful that I didn't, because it would have probably put me in a place that a lot deeper hole than I would have wanted to be in. That's for sure.
And unfortunately, all it takes too is that one bad decision, you talk about two decisions. Now that ultimately could lead a person to, losing it all potentially. Right.
Oh, right. Yeah, it don't. And
Yep.
that's the sad part. It don't take much to
Don't
lose
take
it all.
much.
You know, it
Yep.
takes one wrong stroke of the pen to, you know, bury yourself. So you really got to know your shit before you go to town and ask for money. And that's what this has taught me. Just because they'll give it to you doesn't mean you should take it.
Yeah.
Which
And
I
so
always thought, hey, they're willing to give me money, so must mean I'm doing something right. No, that's not the case.
And so think about it too. If all we did here in Legacy Farmer was help you make and prevent one bad decision from happening, is it worth it to you?
Oh yeah. I mean, the decisions I've made, since I've started have more than offset the cost of joining Legacy Farm. I mean, I've made myself my, tuition, if you want to call it.
Yep.
I've earned that back twice already in 3 months. Right now, I switched this loan over. I got to knock down 2% interest on my land and my building site. Well, after everything, that's quite a bit. And
Yeah.
I brought the information to the desk and that I used on here and what I learned on here. So I mean, that saved me how much right there. And that, and telling me where to put my time. Either my time was hardest thing was taking time away from growing a feedlot to getting my ass back in the truck and trucking. And I mean, just the money I've made up in the last couple months doing that instead of sitting at home working on the farm has, helped out or offset the cost. So I mean,
Here's the
it'll
here's
make you money even when you don't see it.
here's the thing too that we get so caught up in is we're not always looking 5 to 10 years ahead. So this interest, and we're, as you know, big thing here is trying to get interest rates dropped. And even if we can get guys to save 10 to 15,000 a year in interest, which is no problem for a lot of these guys. Think about 10 years from now, that's 150,000.
Right.
Right.
And they don't see the reason they don't think of it for me was, I never thought about interest because it never really, I didn't see it in my wallet, but interest is huge, the amount of money
Huge.
pay and how much you can save. And, everyone's like, oh, I got approved, even though it's a high interest rate. Who cares? I ain't going to notice it. It's like, yeah, you will.
100%. So we've got a lot of different things, as you know, going on in Legacy Farmer. We've got the boardroom calls that we have each week, farmer metrics. We're getting guys set up to track their crop numbers and figure that part out, entity structure and design. We got all these different things inside Legacy Farmer. So what would you say for you has been your favorite thing about Legacy Farmer so far?
I'd say boardroom calls are
Okay.
big. I mean, it's a bunch of guys, that are going through the same thing that you are. It's not like you think of it and it's like, oh, is it just a drum circle or sitting there singing kumbaya to each other? It's guys talking about going through the same shit that you are, dealing with the same thing, fighting the same battles, and they're not sitting there crying to each other, but you learn a lot, and it's just nice to know that there's hundreds of other guys that are going through the same, doing the same thing you are, trying to figure it out. And yeah, I'd say the boardroom calls. I mean, I just got off one, 10 minutes ago and come away with a lot.
Yeah.
You don't even have to say anything. You just sit there and listen to it, and you take away quite a bit.
Well, we've got, 30 to 40, sometimes 50 members on those call. And so you got people all the way down in, California, all the way up to Delaware, up north in North Dakota, down to Texas. And so you're hearing a lot of different situations, but the problems are always resonatable, right? There's always some part of the business that you feel the same pressure and pain.
You get one guy from California. He's got like a vineyard or orchards and shit, and then I'm raising corn and beans and feeding cows and driving truck, and you got another guy on the other side of the country farming whatever. Everyone's got the same damn problem at the end of the day, and it's just nice to bounce it all off of each other.
Everybody's got the same problems.
Mm-hmm. Right? Everyone's got the same issue, whether they're farming rice, corn, whatever. It don't matter.
because
So,
it's the problems that nobody else is talking about. It's the struggle with the team members, the relationships with your spouse, right? You're fighting over finances, not knowing the numbers, not having
mhm,
entities set up. How are we going to build the trust and get this set up? Make sure that we're passing this down. Are we doing the right things? Fighting with the stories, all of those things, each one of you can resonate with. And those are the things that we're talking about and bringing into the circle and actually having real and raw conversations about, right?
mhm, right. Yes.
So if you were, and I believe you sat on the fence for a little bit, so we have a lot of people who, have been watching legacy farmers. Some guys for even like 2 years have been before they've actually made the jump into legacy farmers. So if you were to see somebody who is listening to this, they've heard everything about Alex, about your story, and have said, man, like this, he's in the same position I am. All these things I resonate with. Maybe legacy farmer is the right fit for me. Maybe it's not. But if somebody has been listening and they're thinking about joining Legacy Farmer and they're on the fence, what's something that you would tell them right now?
You know, I sat and I watched listened to the podcast and the Facebook ads and everything for, like I said, I've seen probably 2 years. And then one day, I just kind of had enough and made the call, and it was the best thing I ever did. So if you're worried about it or thinking about it, it's, I'm not trying to sound like a advertisement, but no, it's worth it. It's 100% worth it. It's, I'd do it again. I'm glad I did it. I wish I would have started actually at the first last year, because now I'm going into 2022 and, I'll get my stuff together for 2022, but trying to get my 2021 stuff, I wish I'd have had it all year instead of the last, 2 months. And I jumped on right kind of in the middle of harvest. So I'm learning, I'm doing a lot of the trainings and stuff, but I wish I'd have did it a lot sooner. I mean, especially now, it's like, do it now, you got all winter.
Well, here's the thing too, is where do you think, like before you made the commitment, where do you feel like you thought you could do this on your own? You thought you could figure this all out on your own?
I thought I had a pretty good grip at it, but going into this now, no, I'm glad I'm nervous to see where I'd have been in a few years, because, I never thought I had any, type of issue with anything until I talked to them. And it's like, it's not like they made issues for, like, they were already there, but they just kind of brought them to the table. Like, oh, here, this is what you're fighting with. And it's like, oh yeah, sure enough, I am, and I just kind of called on a whim, just basically being nosy when I called in, just to see what it was all about, because I've seen the advert, and then, it turned into this, and I'm glad I did it.
Yeah. No, man, we're excited to have you here because of what's going to happen here in the next year, getting all the numbers and stuff put together. Like it's these kind of changes right now. It's not the easy work. This is not easy work. And those that come in that expect this to be a proven result or like a guaranteed, fast turnaround, that's not what this place is. Like, you come in and you want to make the changes, you show up, you put in the work, things are going to happen. Like, we have the tools and resources here to help with that. And it's just making the commitment.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And, no, it's definitely a good thing. Helped me find out the computer is more for, it's for business, not just marketplace and Craigslist. You can save money with it, not just spend.
Right. Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, thanks, Alex, man, for taking time with me here today. I really appreciate it.
You bet.